Welcome back to Brashenomics. It is always fun to talk to people who help other people grow their business, and answering the phone is something that just seems so elementary. Jared Fraser is back with us, real estate agent with Keller Williams. Over a decade of experience in real estate and really helping people buy rental properties. I mean, Jared, just from you've been in the property management side, you've been in the real estate side. Mm-hmm. People like when you answer the phone. They
do. I mean, I can definitely see the advantages of outsourcing that secretary service, because I've been many times. I've seen my phone ringing, and I know it's important, and I can't get to it because I'm in the middle of talking with another client, and so the only alternative is they go to voicemail. And I don't know how urgent that call was, but it will take me 20 minutes or longer to get back to them. So definitely having that extra service would be great.
Yeah, and I think it just, again, kind of like what we were talking about with Mike earlier, just the fact that it shows you care.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I've called, and I figured out that it was one of those services before. It was my dentist. But it was still better than just either the phone kept ringing or them not getting back, or not knowing if they're going to get back to me, leaving a voicemail. So I still had a receptionist answer my questions.
People don't even leave voicemails anymore. That's the other thing. I mean, or you certainly don't listen to them.
Yeah, well, that's
you may.
I sometimes do, but that's one great feature of the iPhone where you can just kind of speed it up to get to the number and call them back, or you can go back and.
I love like the 4-minute ones, and we'll get into the real estate in a second. But I love the 4-minute messages, or by like minute 30, like by a minute, you're just sitting there going, what?
I try to always keep them short, but I am guilty of leaving some long ones. But then I feel like it's necessary to apologize in the voicemail for the long voicemail.
Really sorry, but I have to keep going. So, Jared, when people start to look at, especially the first time becoming a real estate owner, especially on the investment side, there are people they're going to need, and sometimes you need them quick, sometimes you don't need them so fast. But I know one thing you've been able to do is really, surround yourself with the people to help people buy properties for the first time. Mm-hmm. Why is right now one of those times to invest in real estate, and especially for rental properties?
Well, we got so many factors to look at, and one that we've been seeing so much is that prices are down and interest rates are low. So I feel like we kind of know that already, and that's just a great time to buy any piece of property. You also got to add in the fact that there is a job increase in our Seattle area. Tech jobs have been coming back. Boeing's hiring. There is a demand to fill housing. On top of that, schools are expanding. Washington State University has the satellite campus in Edmonds, and they've been increasing the campus size. They don't have capacity for those students. Same thing over in Bellevue Community College. So there's these expansion schools off the major universities that are there's a huge demand to get students into our state to go to those universities. And those universities have spent lots of money, millions of dollars to attract students from other countries to bring them over here. Basically, anytime you got a student coming into the area that doesn't have a friend or family member to live with, they need housing. And the campuses are not building new dorms. And if the ones that they are building are only going to cover 10% of the increase in students, when we're looking at a 40 to 50% increase in students every year.
And so are you really looking more, I mean, I know you've done a lot of work around the student housing. I think it's such an interesting niche because there are kids going to school. They need places to live. And as you said, the schools are expanding. So the I would call them the original campuses, like, UW, which the housing around there is, I mean, the houses are not exactly, you don't go buy your $700,000 rental all the time.
Yeah.
But some of these satellite areas are other areas you could buy.
Exactly. They're opening up other opportunities that might not have been as good of an investment prior. So now, I usually always stayed near the major universities because I like that higher demand of housing. I want students always coming in. It keeps your downtime very short, so they only move out. I'm only down to about 4 or 5 days of downtime a year, if that. And so before, a community college might not have been as desirable. They didn't have the as many students, or the housing demand wasn't there. But we're starting to see that increase where we need to get houses to fit students. And when we see that those campuses are increasing students tenfold, there's obviously going to be a housing shortage. So by being able to find properties that are in strategic locations around the campus, obviously close to the campus is always best. But sometimes, maybe between the campus and the north side, there's the mall where more of the tenants are going to be, or students are going to be working. So obviously on that side of the campus would be a little better if you're going to expand out versus maybe, like a different direction away. So it's not only just the radius around the campus. you're also trying to look for other things that will factor in and influence where a student would want to live.
Jared Fraser joins us discussing some of the big influences that colleges have on rental properties. Jared, so you start looking at these different pockets, and I think you bring up a good point. It's not just anywhere around the school. Think about where they're going to go to school, where they're going to work. I mean, there's some really interesting, I guess, cross sections of an area that can be really important.
Well, and I think sometimes for some of the newer investors, what they try to look at a house that they want to buy and live in. And a lot of times people aren't looking for the house that's close to a bus line. They usually aren't. They're not, I want to be right on the bus line. But for a rental, for a student who's just going to be there for a year or two, they love it. That's where they want to be. They want the quickest walk. Their days are packed full of school and work. So if you can cut down their walking time by 5 minutes, they will pay more rent and they are more likely to rent your place. So you're looking at parking, you're looking at transportation, even nightlife, even bars. That all has a factor on rent.
Kind of like the old school schools.
It is, yeah. I mean, look at what you're basically tailor your business to your clientele. So what is your clientele probably going to be doing? They're going to be going to school, going to be going to work, and probably going to go out on the weekends and nights. So if you can find a place that hits all three, you're probably never going to have a vacancy.
So then let's talk about the different areas. Where are some of these satellite schools? Or I mean, it doesn't have to be major universities. I mean, like you said, it could be Bellevue College. It could be, I mean, I imagine any of the local colleges.
Any of the local colleges are increasing. I try to look at how many students are coming in every year. Some of that information.
And how many are full-time, I imagine?
How many are full-time? I still was reluctant around community colleges until some of the major universities started expanding into the community colleges. That's where, Washington State University is spending millions of dollars on marketing across the state, but some of the programs that they are marketing aren't at their main campus. They are at their satellite campuses. So when I see that marketing on a national, international level, that gives me confidence that there'll be a bunch of students coming into that area.
Well, and even to that point, I just actually met somebody who she just graduated from Eastern Washington. She'd never been to the campus.
Yeah.
There's a campus here. I said, you never even seen the big red football field? She says, I had a shirt.
Yeah.
That was the end of it.
My dentist went to the school where I went to, and I'm like, oh, how'd you like it? I never went.
Yeah.
Or, they are the assistant. I mean, never went. It was all satellite, but they still, it's interesting that way, how some of the satellite campuses can be affected that way.
Do you feel that more people, I mean, as college kids are going to these schools, are a lot of these full-time students? I mean, is it really taking the place? I know it's getting harder and harder to get into some of the major universities.
I try to look for full-time students, but that isn't. I mean, there is, but as that's something that the community colleges offer is, I think it's easier to go part-time. Usually the tuition is a little cheaper, so that's attracting students that way. And then for the students that do want to go full-time and get school over with quicker, the prices are cheaper there. So that's what's drawing people. That's why I think these schools are going after that clientele, that student. Well, I mean, it's all dollars. They want students to go there to spend money to go to their school. They're going to need a place to live, and that's where we would come in. Well,
you also made a really good point about like bus lines and what students care about and what they don't. Families maybe don't want to live on a busy road.
Yep.
I mean, a bus line or not, just a busy road. You might have kids, whatever. A lot of students, your typical age student, is probably not so concerned about living on a busy road. So you can actually buy the house for less money and then rent it out at a premium because I guess you retrofit it for students.
Correct, yeah. And, I never get, for my houses that I deal with that are on a busier street, never get a noise complaint because usually if they are playing music a little louder, it's drowned out by the busy road.
Yeah, it seems that, I guess I'm thinking Bellevue College because we're right here, but, right off Bellevue College is I-5.
Yeah.
Or I-90. So you end up, most people who are buying a house to live in don't want to live on I-90.
Yeah, it's not the average. It's not the average. So you're making that
product.
That
should be a positive, like you said. No noise complaints.
I've dealt with a house that was right up to I-5 up in Bellingham. It was tucked in the corner, and I usually don't like having them have their musical instruments, but in this situation, it worked out fine. Nobody could hear them. It worked out great.
Yeah.
Each house can be different, can be tailored differently.
And we do only have about a minute. We do have to go to break here, but the negatives too. I mean, are college kids harder on houses?
I don't think so. I do have some. I have one or two bad experiences versus hundreds and hundreds of good experiences. Houses, it's 5 people going in on a house five to 7, 8 sometimes with these bigger houses. So if you plan for that and you put in products that you don't buy the cheapest toilets, you don't buy the cheapest faucets. Sometimes you can get industrial ones. You can usually get those at resale from a torn down building, and those last a long time. If you budget properly for your carpet wear and tear, it's never usually a problem. And people are going to live in a house, and you're going to know, but they're not putting holes in the houses. They're not. They're not destroying the home. They're just using it. And when you have more students, it's going to get worn through a little bit more, but it's not necessarily harder on the house. It's just something you budget for and plan for.
And with pot being legalized, there's one less thing to worry about, right?
I think we're going to get more students that way too.
Jared, thanks so much. That's true, right? Because it could bring down costs.
Yeah. We'll bring down, and there's going to be people who are going to want to live here. It got voted on. It's going to be true.
I got it. Jared, thanks so much for joining us again. Jared Fraser with Keller Williams. Excellent information today, and excited to have you back.
Thanks.
We'll be back after this break. You're listening to Brassionomics.